I still remember the exact moment my world collapsed. Standing in our kitchen, I overheard Jessica whispering into her phone, thinking I was still asleep. The gentle laugh she used to reserve only for me now belonged to someone named Marcus. 8 years of marriage, and here I was, a stranger in my own home. That night, I made 2 decisions that would change everything. I would file for divorce, and I would tell Marcus's wife, Sophia, exactly what her husband had been doing with my wife for the past 7 months. I am about to share how my entire life fell apart and how I rebuilt it. Where are you watching from today? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you want more stories about finding strength after betrayal. When I first met Jessica at Horizon Software Solutions, I never imagined how our story would end. She was the brilliant marketing director who always had the room hanging on her every word during presentations. I was the somewhat introverted lead developer who admired her from afar for months before finding the courage to ask her out for coffee. That coffee date turned into dinner, and dinner turned into the most intense connection I had ever felt with another person. Jessica understood my passion for coding in a way no one else ever had. She would listen to me ramble about algorithms and debugging for hours, genuinely interested in my world. And I was equally fascinated by her creative approach to marketing challenges. After 18 months of dating, I proposed during a hiking trip to the mountains. The sunrise backdrop seemed perfect for beginning our forever together. Jessica cried when she said yes, and I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive. Our wedding was everything we had hoped for. Small, intimate, with just our closest friends and family. We wrote our own vows, promising to always be honest, supportive, and faithful to each other. Promises that would later haunt me with their hollow echo. 2 years into our marriage, we bought our dream house in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, a large backyard, and a dedicated office space where I could work from home when needed. We talked about filling those extra bedrooms with children someday, but agreed to establish our careers first. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. I continued moving up at Horizon, eventually becoming the technical director of our department. Jessica was thriving too, earning recognition for her innovative marketing campaigns. From the outside, we were the perfect power couple. The first changes were so subtle, I barely noticed them. Jessica started staying later at the office, often coming home after I was already in bed. Her business trips became more frequent, sometimes extended by a day or 2 at the last minute. One night, I reached for her phone to check the time while mine was charging. The screen flashed with a notification from someone named Marcus, before Jessica snatched it away. Suddenly awake and alert. "Sorry, work stuff," she mumbled, entering a new password I had never seen before. From that point on, her phone never left her side. It went with her to the shower, to the kitchen, even to the bathroom. The password changed weekly. Our physical intimacy began to wane. There was always an excuse: headaches, exhaustion from work, early meetings the next day. When I tried to talk about it, Jessica assured me everything was fine, that she was just going through a stressful period at work. I noticed other changes too. New clothes appeared in her closet, more stylish and revealing than her usual professional attire. Her trips to the salon became more frequent. The perfume she wore changed to something more expensive, more sultry. I tried to be the supportive husband. I planned surprise date nights, bought thoughtful gifts, even learned to cook her favorite meals. But the distance between us kept growing. Marcus entered our conversations casually at first. Marcus from the sales team had an interesting approach to the Jenkins account. Or Marcus and I are working late on the Westfield proposal. Soon his name appeared in nearly every story she told about work. Then came the day I happened to glance at her phone while she was in the shower. A notification appeared. "Can't wait to see you later." Same place. The sender. Marcus W. My stomach dropped, but I still refused to believe it. People have work meetings all the time, I told myself. Maybe they were meeting a client. Maybe I was overreacting. That evening, I suggested we go out for dinner at her favorite restaurant. Jessica seemed distracted the entire time, checking her phone under the table when she thought I wasn't looking. She left early, claiming she had forgotten about an important conference call with international clients. I spent that night staring at the ceiling, fighting the suspicion growing inside me. I had always trusted Jessica completely. The thought of her being unfaithful seemed impossible, yet the evidence was mounting. Still, I needed to be sure before making any accusations. The annual company holiday party should have been a night of celebration. Instead, it became the night I could no longer deny the truth. Jessica and I arrived separately. I had a meeting that ran late, so she went ahead to help with some last-minute arrangements. When I walked in, my eyes immediately found her across the room, champagne glass in hand, laughing at something Marcus had said. There was nothing overtly inappropriate about their interaction, but something in the way they looked at each other sent a chill through me. They stood slightly too close. Their eye contact lasted slightly too long. His hand brushed against hers when he took the glass she offered him, and I saw her cheeks flush. Throughout the evening, I watched them from a distance. They were careful, professional when others were looking, but I caught the stolen glances, the unnecessary touches, the way they always seemed to gravitate toward each other. Later that night, Tom from accounting pulled me aside near the bar. We had worked together for years, and he had become something of a friend. "Darwin, I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "I was working late last week and saw Jessica and Marcus in the conference room after hours. They were not discussing work. I am sorry, man." His words confirmed my worst fears, but I thanked him for his honesty. Rather than confront Jessica immediately, I decided to gather more evidence. If my marriage was truly over, I wanted to know exactly what I was dealing with. The next day, I installed recovery software on our shared laptop at home. Jessica occasionally used it to check her personal email, and I hoped it might reveal something. It did far more than I was prepared for. Deleted emails between Jessica and Marcus, dating back 7 months. Secret meetings at hotels. Intimate photos. Plans for weekends together when I thought she was on business trips. In one particularly painful email, Jessica had written Darwin suspects nothing. He is too wrapped up in his work to notice what is right in front of him. I almost feel sorry for him. Marcus had replied, "We will figure it out together. Give it time. Soon we can stop hiding." I felt physically ill reading their exchanges, but I forced myself to continue to understand the full extent of their betrayal. Through social media, I learned that Marcus was married to a woman named Sophia. They had 2 children, both under the age of 10. Their Facebook photos showed a happy family at the beach at Disney World opening Christmas presents. Sophia's profile described her as a kindergarten teacher who loved her family more than anything. My investigation turned obsessive. I tracked Jessica's movements through her location, sharing which she had forgotten was still active on our family account. One Tuesday afternoon, when she claimed to be meeting clients, I drove to the upscale hotel where her location showed she had been for the past hour. Sitting in my car in the parking lot, I saw Marcus's car in a visitor spot. I wanted to storm in there to confront them both, but something held me back. What would that accomplish? A scene, tears, denials, and then what I needed time to think, to plan my next steps carefully. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I could barely sleep, existing on coffee and adrenaline. My work suffered, though I tried to maintain a facade of normalcy. I lost weight, unable to stomach food when images of Jessica and Marcus together invaded my thoughts. At home, I played the role of unsuspecting husband, all while documenting every lie, every unexplained absence. Jessica noticed my withdrawal, and ironically accused me of being emotionally distant. "You are never really present anymore, Darwin," she complained one night over the dinner I had barely touched. "Is something going on with you?" The audacity of her question nearly broke my composure. I wanted to scream the truth at her, but instead mumbled something about a stressful project at work. She seemed relieved by my explanation, quickly changing the subject to her upcoming business trip to Chicago. I later discovered that Marcus had arranged a romantic weekend there, using the company credit card to book a luxury suite. Jessica had used our joint account to buy lingerie and gifts for him, our money funding their affair. I questioned everything about myself. Was I not attractive enough? Not attentive enough? Had I somehow driven her to seek comfort in another man's arms? But the more I read their exchanges, the clearer it became that this was not about my failings. This was about their selfishness, their complete disregard for the vows they had made to their spouses. 3 months after my initial discovery, I overheard a phone conversation that pushed me past my breaking point. I had come home early unnoticed by Jessica, who was talking to Marcus in our bedroom with the door partially open. "I cannot take much more of this," she was saying. "Darwin is like a ghost around here. I almost wish he would just find out so we could stop pretending." "Be patient, babe," Marcus replied, his voice audible through the speaker. "We need to be smart about this. You stand to get half of everything in the divorce. The house alone will set us up nicely." Jessica laughed softly. "I know. And once the dust settles, we can start our life together. No more hiding." "Exactly," Marcus said. "I just need to figure out the situation with Sophia and the kids. She cannot suspect anything until we are ready." I stood frozen in the hallway, their words washing over me like ice water. They were not just having an affair. They were plotting their future together. A future that involved taking half of everything I had worked for, with no regard for the destruction they would leave behind. Something shifted inside me at that moment. The paralyzing pain transformed into cold, clear resolve. I would not be their victim. I would not be the passive participant in the dissolution of my own marriage. The next day, I contacted a divorce attorney. Barbara Hoffman came highly recommended for complex cases involving infidelity. In her office, I laid out everything I had discovered, showing her the evidence I had meticulously collected. "You have done most of my job already," she said approvingly. "With this documentation, we can file for divorce on grounds of adultery. Given that she used marital funds to finance the affair, we may be able to argue for a more favorable distribution of assets." I also shared my desire to inform Marcus's wife about the affair. "Legally, there is nothing preventing you from doing that," Barbara advised. "But be prepared for significant backlash from both your wife and her lover. Make sure your own affairs are in order first." Following her advice, I began securing my financial future. I opened a new bank account at a different bank and transferred half of our savings into it. I updated the beneficiaries on my life insurance policy and retirement accounts, removing Jessica's name. I gathered all important documents and stored them in a safe deposit box. Finding information about Sophia proved easier than expected. Through social media, I learned she taught at Westside Elementary. I found her email address on the school website. I composed dozens of drafts of what I would say to her, trying to find the right balance between honesty and sensitivity. The more I prepared, the more my confidence grew. I was no longer the shattered, confused husband wondering what had happened to his marriage. I was a man taking control of his life, refusing to let deceit determine his future. I planned to confront Jessica only after all my preparations were complete. I would present her with divorce papers, inform her that Sophia would know everything, and then leave to stay with a friend until I found a new place. What I did not anticipate was that Jessica would discover my plans before I could execute them. One night, she used our shared laptop while I was in the shower. I had forgotten to close my email after sending documents to Barbara. Jessica saw everything: the correspondence with my lawyer, the evidence I had compiled, my draft email to Sophia. When I emerged from the bathroom, Jessica was sitting on our bed, face pale, the laptop open before her. "What is all this?" she whispered, though we both knew she had already found her answer. The confrontation that followed was both ugly and predictable. First came the denial, then the blame. "It did not mean anything," she insisted. "It was just physical. I always loved you." When that failed to move me, she switched tactics. "You drove me to this," she cried. You were always working, always distracted. I was lonely. Marcus made me feel wanted. I remained silent, letting her cycle through her excuses. If you tell Sophia, you will destroy their family, she finally said. Think of their children, Darwin. Do you want that on your conscience? You and Marcus should have thought about those children before you started your affair, I replied calmly. Sophia deserves to know the truth, just as I deserve to know. Jessica's expression shifted from pleading to panic. She grabbed her phone. I need to warn Marcus, she said, frantically dialing. You cannot do this to us. As she spoke to Marcus, her voice rising hysterically, I gathered some clothes and necessities. I had planned this moment differently, but the outcome would be the same. I was leaving. Marcus says if you contact Sophia, he will make sure you regret it, Jessica said after hanging up. He knows people at work. He can ruin your career. I almost laughed at the threat. I have recordings of him admitting to misusing company funds for your hotels. I have copies of emails sent on company servers during work hours, planning your affair. If anyone should be worried about their career, it is Marcus. Then came her final desperate attempt. If you go through with this, I will hurt myself. Is that what you want? I looked at her. This woman I had once loved, beyond reason, now reduced to emotional manipulation. If you are genuinely considering harming yourself, I will call a mental health professional right now, but I will not be blackmailed into protecting your affair. I left that night checking into a hotel across town. Jessica called and texted repeatedly, alternating between threats, pleas, and promises to change. I responded only once with the contact information for my lawyer. 2 days later, I met Sophia for coffee. She was younger than I expected, with kind eyes now swollen from crying. I had emailed her the night before, giving her a brief overview of why I needed to meet her. I have suspected something was wrong for months, she admitted, hands trembling around her mug. But Marcus always had explanations. I started to think I was going crazy. I showed her some of the evidence I had gathered, enough to confirm the affair, but sparing her the most painful details. She thanked me repeatedly for having the courage to tell her. What will you do now? I asked. I need to think of my children, she said, but I cannot stay with someone who has betrayed us like this. Thank you for giving me the choice that they tried to take away from both of us. Marcus's reaction was swift and furious. He called me that evening, alternating between threats and desperate bargaining. I will end things with Jessica, he promised. Just do not tell my wife, please. I will do anything. Sophia already knows, I told him. And unlike you, I do not make promises I cannot keep. He cursed and hung up. The next day, my boss called me into his office. Apparently, Marcus had filed a complaint against me for creating a hostile work environment. But Marcus had underestimated my preparation. I calmly presented my boss with evidence of Marcus using company resources to conduct his affair, including hotel receipts charged to the company account for non-business stays. By the end of the week, Marcus was the one facing disciplinary action, not me. Jessica made one final attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. She came to my hotel, somehow convincing the front desk to tell her my room number. I made a terrible mistake, she said, when I reluctantly let her in. I will end things with Marcus. We can go to counseling. Please, Darwin, 8 years has to count for something. It counted for something, I agreed. That is why your betrayal hurt so deeply. But it is over, Jessica. The divorce papers have been filed. There is nothing left to discuss except the details of our separation. She left in tears, but I felt only a dull ache, where once there would have been heart-wrenching pain. The worst was over. I had survived. The divorce proceeded more quickly than I anticipated. Faced with the overwhelming evidence, Jessica agreed to a settlement that was more than fair to both of us. She kept her retirement accounts and investments. I kept the house. We split the remaining assets equally. Marcus was not so fortunate. Sophia filed for divorce and sought full custody of their children after discovering he had been planning to abandon them. The company launched an investigation into his misuse of funds and eventually terminated his employment. Jessica, tainted by association, resigned before she could be fired. I heard through mutual friends that Jessica and Marcus tried to make their relationship work after everything fell apart, but without the thrill of secrecy, their connection quickly faded. Last I heard, Jessica had moved to another state to start over. As for me, I sold our house. There were too many memories there, both good and bad. I accepted a position with a competitor in a different city, eager for a fresh start. The first few months were the hardest. Despite everything Jessica had done, I missed the life we had built together, or at least the version of it I had believed in. I questioned my decision to tell Sophia, wondering if I had acted out of vengeance rather than principle. My doubts eased when I received an email from Sophia 6 months after our coffee meeting. "I wanted you to know that the kids and I are doing well," she wrote. "It has been a difficult adjustment, but we are happier now, living in truth rather than lies. Thank you again for your courage. You helped me find mine." Her words validated my choices and helped me move forward with a clearer conscience. I found an apartment in my new city, smaller than our house, but with a view of the river that brought me peace. I joined a support group for people dealing with infidelity and divorce. Listening to others share similar experiences helped me realize I was not alone in my pain or my healing. Slowly, I rebuilt my life. I made new friends through a local hiking club. I reconnected with old hobbies that I had abandoned during my marriage. I focused on my health, both physical and mental. Dating again seemed impossible at first. The thought of trusting someone enough to be vulnerable terrified me. But eventually, I met someone through my support group. Catherine had her own story of betrayal, and we moved cautiously, understanding each other's scars. We have been seeing each other for almost a year now. I do not know where our relationship will lead, but I am no longer afraid to find out. Looking back at the devastation of my marriage, I realize now that the most valuable thing I lost was not Jessica, but the illusion that love alone guarantees honesty and respect. I learned that trust must be reinforced by actions, not just words. And most importantly, I learned that standing up for yourself, even when it feels like your world is collapsing, is the first step toward building something stronger and more authentic. Sometimes, we need to lose everything we thought mattered to discover what truly does. The end of my marriage became the beginning of a more genuine life, one built on self-respect and truth, rather than comfort and illusion. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that ended up changing your life for the better? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that surviving betrayal is possible. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, your worth is never determined by how others treat you, but by how you choose to rise after falling. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead us to our greatest strength, and the end of what we thought was everything becomes the beginning of who we were always meant to be.